Hello, I'm Reverend Rick, and it is my honor to be with you today. We really hope that this video is a blessing to you. And if it is, please consider making a donation. People watch our videos locally when they cannot necessarily come to church throughout the United States and the world. So please join us and click the link below and make a donation. Thank you, and let this be a blessing to you. Good morning. The spiritual truth that I am dealing with this morning is to get what you really desire, you have to take 100% responsibility. To get what you really desire, pay attention to me, not to them. Although the guys know there's always something around to kind of make you ask a bunch of questions, right? That's intentional. If you want to get what you really desire, you have to take 100% responsibility. Reverend Brenda, I couldn't have paid you to show up this morning and tell us that testimony. That is a far better sermon than the one I'm going to give you. But guess what? It all works together for good. So I'm going to talk about three things. Number one, blame, complaining, and excuses. Number two, where does trouble come from? And three, how to get what you really desire. First of all, blaming, complaining, and excuses is just practicing what you don't want. There's nothing more profound than that. You are practicing what you don't want. So, first and foremost of all, to take 100% responsibility to get what you really desire, you have to let the blaming, the excuses, and the complaining go. 2, where does trouble come from? See, the interesting thing is we always want someone to blame. It was my mother, it was my father, and it could be true. It could be my mother, my father, it was how I grew up and where I grew up, and I don't have any money, and it's the job I have, and it's my boss, and you name it, there's a whole litany of reasons, by the way. And they're all really true. They do have some limitation in our lives if we believe them. And we always want, think about every time you hear a news story, what do people say? Who is to blame? Who is responsible for this? We want them punished. Now, I am not excusing our responsibility and accountability for anything that we do. But I am not talking about responsibility as a function of blame. I am talking about responsibility about taking control of your life and getting what you really desire. Now let's talk about consciousness, because you know it's very easy for people who believe like we do to slip into this thing of saying, what was in my consciousness that brought this into my life? Did I cause this sickness? Did I cause this struggle? Did I cause my poverty? What was in my mind? I wasn't thinking anything about it. Why is it in my life? Let's look at it like this. Simple explanation. Russian dolls. Seen Russian dolls before? You know, they're inside of each other. So this one is inside of that one, which is inside the big one. The big one is like God. God consciousness. God is all there is. Everything is in the big one. Okay? All principle exists in the big one. Love, light, life, peace, power, prosperity, health, wholeness, joy, name it. It's all there in the big one. Let's talk about the medium. The medium one is human race consciousness. And that's where all the stuff you crazy people think about actually resides. And I'm looking in the mirror when I talk about it. You know, because what human race consciousness is, there is abundance and then there's a lack of abundance. There is healing and health and then there's a lack of healing and health. There's prosperity, oh, there's lack. See, everything in human consciousness exists there. The third level, right inside of human race consciousness, is our consciousness. And this is where we believe and where we make our mind up. And here is where we are committed to what happens in our life. Now, if you don't live intentionally, if I don't live intentionally, you're going to be subject to human race consciousness. But if you live intentionally, you look through it to principle. Look, don't deny that it's there. Through it to principle. See, this is what we do in spiritual mind treatment. This is what we do in affirmative prayer. It's here. It's there. Okay? But we look and pray through it to see the principle. This is where trouble comes from. Either we are intentional or we live on default and we are subject to all human thought. But we still have power. The power to connect to the big one. Let's talk about the ultimate blame story. Admony. Or Adam and Steve. Or Eve and Eve. Give any name you want. But in this story, it's Adam and Eve. God says, Adam, what are you thinking? What a wonderful thing to say. God, this woman that you gave me made me do this. Now that's a lot of nerve. No, you didn't say that. You blame God that you followed off and went on and did your own thing with the gift that is standing in front of you. Interesting. But we continue to do it. We can do it. That's what the blaming and the excuses and the complaining is about. It's just practicing what we don't want. Now, the interesting thing here is this whole issue about the devil. That's exactly what Eve said. She said, well, the devil made me do it. Okay? Now, did the devil make her do it? See, here's the deal. The interesting thing is, the devil gets a lot of blame. He really does, if you think about it. The devil is only mentioned 23 times in the Bible. Tell that to your Bible-believing folk. Okay? 23 times. How many times is love mentioned in the scripture? 700 times. And if you add the 200 times about grace, you're working on 1,000. So you see, the story is a whole lot more about love than it is about a devil. Now, I know most of you are so enlightened that you don't watch television. I do. I love television. And I got a big one, too. I love television. I love suspense. I love science fiction. You know, I got it. And one story I love is Lucifer. Yes. Oh, great. I love this show. Okay? I love this show. Because in a lot of ways, I'm going to be like Lucifer. Okay. Let's talk about Lucifer. Lucifer is tall. I'm not. He is thin. I'm not. He has a full head of hair. I don't. He has custom suits. And baby, it's all about the style. All about the style. And he owns a club called Lux, which is on top of an Art Deco building. Now, the story goes that Lucifer is bored running hell, okay? So he decides to come to Earth, to Los Angeles. About one step closer to hell than you can be, right? Telling me. The city of Los Angeles, okay? That's what this is all about, right? But the most important thing about Lucifer that I love is two things. Number one, his name is Lucifer Morningstar. What a name! Lucifer Morningstar. And here's the second issue. He drives a 1962 convertible Corvette. It looks like he is sitting in the middle of a torpedo driving down the street. And when he's driving down the street in LA, there is no traffic. I want to be like Lucifer Morningstar. Now, when the news gets this clip, that's all they're gonna put on the news, right? So, but the thing about it is, Lucifer does not make people do things in the show. It's insightful that Fox has this show, and it's kind of enlightening, okay? Because he doesn't make people do things. He does not get in their heads. He doesn't make them do things. He doesn't do bad things to people. All of this stuff we've been blaming the devil for all of these years. He has one superpower. And the one superpower is this. When he looks at you and asks you, what do you really desire? You cannot lie. I love that. I really do. Although I don't know that I want to know everything, I would like the ability to ask a few people sometimes, what do you really desire? But in a lot of ways, folks, you can tell what we desire because it's where we spend our money. It's where we spend our time. And it shows up in our life time and time again. But we don't have to be there. And I love the fact that Lucifer just has this one superpower. Now, the thing is, again, so insightful, such a creative show. Lucifer loses his power when Chloe is around. He is in love with Chloe. And when Chloe shows up, he loses his power. Listen, when love shows up, everything else loses its power. Amen. It loses its power. See, that's the big one, okay? That's the power of the big one. It's eternal love. Ernest called God the eternal lover. Impossible to be anything else other than love. So if we choose to live a limited life, it is choice. But the big one is the eternal love of God. And guess what? You have it. You are it. It only takes an intention to look through the opposition, to look through the race consciousness, to look past the condition to principle. Now, I learned this story that I'm going to share with you. I learned this lesson from a woman called Claire. Claire makes sandwiches at St. Joseph's Hospital in Denver. She makes deli sandwiches. Now, everybody gets in her line because it's really fresh and stuff like that. And I could always tell when she was not at work, because when she wasn't at work, there was a line down the hall, okay? But Claire knew how to focus, okay? That she could keep that line moving. That line, just like the blessings in her life, the line of blessings in her life. So she would say, tell me what you want. And people would follow the rule, except for the person in front of me. The person in front of me would always say, I'll have mayo, but not mustard. I'll have lettuce, but not tomato. Claire would look up and it would destroy the flow of the line. It confuses everything. It's healing and not healing. It's I believe and I don't believe. It would interrupt the line, and Claire would stand up flat-footed and say, don't tell me what you don't want. Just tell me what you want. And this is the message of love to you today. Stop practicing complaining. Stop practicing blaming. Stop practicing the excuses. And focus on what you want, because the love of God is in you with all of the power of the universe. You can't do anything but fail. And for those of you that came out of Pentecostal church in about 2 minutes, I'm gonna hoop. You know, I always leave you looking up something when you leave. But you know, the thing that Reverend Dr. Georgia is so known for is her practical applications of principle. So I'm challenged to be here to just give you a simple principle. And the simple principle comes from Claire. Just tell me what you want. Tell me what you do. Amen. Focus on the big one. Let us pray. Knowing only one power, knowing only one presence, knowing only one ultimate reality, this one ultimate reality that reveals itself as me in it, and I live and I move and I have my being. So I am thankful that every need is met in the room. You heard what you needed to hear. You received what you needed to hear, even though I didn't say it. And for this, I am thankful. And so it is.